elderly patients or clients, I, coming from an athletic world, had to learn how to talk to them a little bit differently because the locker room talk and the way that we cue these athletes is very, very different than we would cue an elderly patient. So those are some of the things that I picked up from her, and actually what we're going to take a look at today is one of my clients that I have currently, which is very similar to most elderly patients, which is the reason why I chose her. And we'll talk a little bit about why that happens later. But anyways, she came to me as a referral from a chiropractor, and she's a female, she's 70, a little bit overweight at 140. She's roughly around my height, and I'm 5'6", so it's a little overweight for her. But if you look at that, that can actually add some pounding to her joints too. So we would like to decrease her weight, but in addition to that, change the composition of what that makeup is about. She had right ankle pain, low back pain, and shoulder and neck pain. And in all actuality, every single one of these were interrelated. And we fixed one, and that actually all of them cleared up together. So the way that we approach this is not looking at, the ankle's causing the back, and it's causing the shoulder. We looked at it as like a holistic problem that all of them are just dysfunctional, and we're going to train you out of that movement together. And that way it all cleared up together really easily. Okay. Her background, she's been dancing since she was little, so she actually moved here from New York where she did some stuff on Broadway, and now she's over here dancing and singing still at the age of 70. So she would like to continue to do that, and that's one of her goals. And before she met me, she was an avid gym class attendee, and what I mean by that is that she would go to like Equinox or 24, and whatever classes they were offering at the time, she would take them. So whether it be Pilates, yoga, cardio, boxing, she was doing it all. So it's not too individualized or programming, but she was at least active, and then that's a good thing. Some of the psychological stressors that we were dealing with her is an uncertainty of her future. So you don't know how long you're going to be around. So you start thinking about planning for your husband and your grandchildren and your children's lives without you. And she was worried about falling because of her injuries, but also because of the age too. And she wants to be there to watch her grandchildren grow up. So that was a big concern and stress for her. Some of the goals from that is to get pain-free, obviously. So to take away all of the ankle, the low back, and the shoulder issues that were bothering her. She wanted to live a healthier life, and what I mean by that is just the quality of life. It's one thing to live for a very long time, but it's another to actually live it. So that was one of her goals, is to be able to do the things that she wanted to do before she died. And again, she wanted to continue to sing and dance. I know she loves performing. She continues to perform in shows here, and she would like to continue that. So before we move on, we're going to talk a little bit about homeostasis and allostasis. So homeostasis, we can look at it as neutral. This is where we come to. So it's standing still or stable. And all of our fluctuations or our stimuli from the environment that are affecting us, that is going to disrupt us from homeostasis. Allostasis is a process in which we correct that. So they're all the little things that we do to get back to neutral, get back to stability. So here I have a definition. Allostasis is the process in which the organism achieves stability. And we can do these in many different ways. We can do it by physiological changes. We can do it by changing our behavior as well as changing our emotions. So all of our, basically everything we do has an influence on homeostasis. Okay. The allostatic overload comes from whenever you have a chronic stressor that is overpowering the recovery process. So think about it, like if you were to do bicep curls every single day, bicep's not going to get bigger, you're actually going to get a smaller bicep, and it's because we don't have time to recover between those sessions. So now we can change our set point. So the set point that I'm talking about is homeostasis. So think about our bodies having different body weight set points. We have different blood pressure set points, heart rate set points, and these can all change based on how much stress we give the body and how much recovery we are allowing for it. And in an allostatic overload situation, pathophysiology is present, meaning that there's disease or there's some pain, injury. So basically, when we look at the next picture here, the next slide, this kind of sums it up. So we go through all these metabolic changes that we have the catabolic stressors in exercise, and we have the anabolic situation in recovery. And this stress curve kind of really visualizes this. So too little, and we don't have enough adaptation. Too much, and we have no time to recover. So the optimal performance in this situation is right in the middle. This is a very dumbed down version, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to trick or shift some of this stuff later. But I'd like to talk a little bit about Mike Reynolds. It's actually perfect timing. He put out a great post the other day on corrective exercise bell curve. So this is an inverted U here, and with his inverted U, imagine these poor sections being percentages. So he had this as 20%, and that is 20, and then the optimal range he has as 60. So his first 20 were if he were to prescribe somebody a corrective and they didn't, it didn't give them any kind of effect, so they didn't respond to their corrective. The optimal, which is in the middle, it wasn't optimal in his situation. It was that they were just normal people that were adapting to the stressor, so it took them a little bit more time to adapt to the corrective. And then the final 20% were those that adapt really quickly, that the corrective was the right trick for. And there are many reasons why these adaptations occur, why they're different in many people. And they could be that they need the assistance of, in his case, when he was writing manipulation techniques, they need the assistance of a masseuse, whatever. But when we look at correctives, we can't say one size fits all for all of our patients that even express the same issues. So we need to find the right trick to get them into that functional state. So many factors can shift the curve either left or right, but they can also shift it up and down. So sometimes you don't need as much stress to get to a certain level, or sometimes that little bit of stress is too much. So age, activity level, disease, pain, and even cognitive functioning can shift the curve. And these are needed to be taken into account when we look at our client when we're programming them too. So say in our elderly patient, I can't have as much volume or load as I would in a high-level NFL athlete like we were talking about last week, because they cannot recover as quickly. So it's all a battle between the catabolic and the anabolic stages. When we talk about that, adaptability comes up, and I keep talking about adaptability. And whenever people ask me the question about how do I define athleticism, I define it by one word: it's adaptability. And what I mean by that is adaptability is our reflection of how healthy we are. So a great example is for a high-level athlete, when they go to a massage therapist, the amount of pressure the massage therapist has to use is a whole lot less than they would have to use for a typical person. The reason why is because their tissues understand how to adapt to this stress that you're giving it. They understand where you're trying to manipulate it and what you're trying to do. So they like to accept change a lot better. And so we even see that with the cryo, all these stuff in the weight room. It's very easy to get these guys strong, but it's not the case in the less fortunate people. So just the typical person, or even the elderly, the ability to adapt to stress diminishes as we age. So we talked about the corrective exercise curve. That might be another factor that affects this too. Is that age? We look at the correctives may have diminishing results as they age. So we may have to find new tricks.